Tell us your name, where and when you were born, and just speak a bit about your background and how you came into your current artistic practice.
So my name is Adriana Ramic. I was born in Chicago, United States, 1989. And I've kind of always been making art since I was a child. It's a bit one of these stories, like taking my mother's lipstick and using it to draw fog all across the walls. But I was also at the same time around a lot of computation. My father was a computer scientist, and I kind of learned to use computer and play games at a young age. Now, this is not a new thing anymore, now that we are all surrounded by computers, but I very much grew up kind of alongside these worlds of making art and being around computation, and that influenced my practice heavily. I studied interdisciplinary computing in the arts at UC San Diego in California, and after that I started making work that was very much like visual arts, fine arts, but kind of drawn from these ideas that I had gleaned from computation, like wondering about what it is to like materialize a system of thought or a system of information, or what it means to teach something to think. So I started working kind of from this background. I was quite interested in machine learning from an early point in time, and making works with this kind of material, like how can we like reimagine sets of information as it becomes abstracted or rendered abstruse by machine generation. And from there I started to step away, especially as AI became more and more ubiquitous. I was really thinking, like, what's a way that I can focus on these details in my work, these sort of what are to me mysterious vignettes that I wanted to focus on. So I started thinking, like, what would be like making work with computation, but without computation at all. So I stopped working with programming and I started working with video. And for the past few years, I've been filming and making video installations, and that has been a lot of what I've been doing since I've been in the villa.
And what are these mysterious vignettes?
Kind of like these, I work very intuitively, and it's like these just very poetic, strange moments that happen when you're looking at something or thinking about something that touches me in a unusual sort of way that I want to maybe share.
And what drew you to apply to the villa?
I was really interested, first and foremost, in visiting Albania. I had never been here before. My father is from former Yugoslavia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I have been around the other Western Balkan countries, but I've never been here, and I was very curious and very interested, so that was the first part. And then, of course, to stay in a site like this is beyond extraordinary and very bizarre and strange and humbling, and it is also because of that I applied.
How has it felt to be in this?
Very surreal.
Yeah.
Very, very surreal. Like, you will be wrapped up in these everyday sort of moments, like, oh, I have to do the dishes, I have to do the laundry, and then you remember where you are doing them in this like horrifying house. It's very surreal. Many people talk about the idea of like what lingers here or what is transformed here. I cannot say concretely that I have experienced something myself, but I would also not negate any sort of possibilities.
Yeah, people have been talking about having these very vivid dreams and nightmares, and not being able to sleep, and the paranormal has been something that artists seem to be in conversation with when it comes to their sort of experiences in this house. But we're also seeing that these experiences are changing from session to session. We see that in like the first session, this was more intense. And then I think people are, the local community as well is getting more used to it. So the artists are not in contact with those reactions of the community in quite the same way as those in the first session were. Yeah. So to return to your project, could you describe your research here, and then the form that it took, what you showed during the open studios?
At first, I started researching, like, broadly. I was curious in visiting archaeological sites, getting to know Tirana, going around the city. I tend to work quite spontaneously, and my work kind of emerges from being in a place and thinking about things rather than having a like pre-thought concept and executing it according to the plan. So as I was researching and going around, I was also thinking about this very question of what does it mean to be in this house, especially as a foreigner, as an artist? It's a beyond delicate topic that I also don't feel qualified really to speak on. And I kept thinking, like, what is it to be in this house? And I was seeing Ursa, the cat, always walking around. And I film animals as part of my work, so I thought, let's start filming Ursa and see what happens. And I ended up filming her on a daily basis as she goes about her routines. Like every day or every other day, she will bring some sort of animal, like a lizard, into the house and torment it and play with it and then leave it frozen in one of the ground floor rooms or something.
Ursa is the cat.
Yes.
For the record.
Ursa is the cat. Sorry if that wasn't clear. But I was really stunned by this. There is also something very uncanny about the fact that they're, of course, this is what cats do wherever they are. They bring in smaller prey and torment them. But for that to happen here is also very uncanny, very strange. So I filmed her doing this. I filmed her walking around, prowling around. There were times like, and maybe I experienced the paranormal through Ursa. Like there was a time at 3 a.m. I came home and she was on that grand staircase.
Mm-hmm.
And she had her ears completely back and she was very afraid of appearing. And she was tiptoeing around, looking for something, but nothing could be seen. And she was there for like hours, just like tiptoeing and staring like she was seeing something. I don't know. Other times I've seen her beneath that staircase staring at a fly for hours, so who knows? But it was really then through her that I started to experience the house, and with the videos of her, which I installed as site-specific projections in my studio, which was in Ilir Hoca's apartment. There was a fireplace and a cabinet. I projected it into the concave areas and then made a mirror extruding from there. And that mirror would then reflect Ursa's projection back onto us in a way that I wanted us to think, like, what are we also doing here while this cat is exploring? And it's a question, it's open-ended for me.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're interested in non-human consciousness as well, right?
Yes.
Is that something that you explore throughout your work?
Yeah, I was interested, like, how, like, what does it mean? What does it mean to think? What does it mean to think as a human? What does it mean to teach a machine to think as a human, or to like create a sort of like structure? What are like the parameters for thinking and being as human, but also as non-human, as animal, as something else? So I'm always looking at these computer science and behavioral science papers, looking at how they sort of distill these different intervals or behaviors of existence and what they are, and then how that gets like fed into some sort of program and then repeated back to us. So also when I'm filming now, I'm like thinking about that, like filming these sort of like instances or these moments of behavior. And of course, not everything can or should be categorized. And I think that by thinking about those categories, we also think about what they exclude in terms of the breadth and complexity of perception and behavior. So I like that as a sort of starting point, because just having a set of categories or a set of moments, we think about what is not there.
Mm-hmm. And you obviously met Ursa when you came here. Did you have a previous idea of what your work here was going to be, or were you really open to?
I was very open
to whatever you would encounter.
Yeah, I was very open because I didn't really know what to expect, and I wanted to just try to absorb it.
And how has you spoke about the house, but how has being an Albanian in Tirana impacted your thinking in this time, especially since, as you mentioned, your father is from ex-Yugoslavia, and how has this sort of return to the Balkans been?
It's been very interesting. I don't know how yet to specifically answer that question. I think like maybe since I still feel like I'm in it, I will have a better understanding as I reflect on this after some time has passed.
Are there any specific texts or thinkers, just references that inform and inspire your work?
I really like Clarice Lispector, Italo Calvino. I get a lot of inspiration from literature, actually, and also, I really like some of these very metaphysical Sufi texts, like by Ibn Arabi. And I like these computer science papers. I like looking at these weird poetries that are mentioned there as well. There's many books. It's hard to distill. I saw someone wrote a book of Farouk Farrokhzad's poetry here, which was a beautiful addition to observe. I like to read a lot, but somehow since I was here, I was not reading so much. But that's also a kind of something that started happening in the last few months.
Why do you think that is?
I've been very overwhelmed personally outside of my practice. But I've been reading this Italo Calvino short stories, this T0 book that has been very beautiful.
Yeah. How would you situate your work in a broader sort of artistic and socio-political context? Because you mentioned the emergence of AI and what a huge impact that's having, and I kind of wanted to hear more about how you position your work against that.
I think that I've always felt very resistant to this idea of technology as a novelty, and I don't want my work to be defined by the use of one specific technology or another. I want my work to be for everyone in a way, and that was a big shift for me in starting to work with video, because before I was making these computationally driven installations that were very conceptual, very abstruse, very text-based and ephemeral. But with a video, you can feel a temporality and affect and emotion that is simply not there when you're looking at text or diagrams. It's something that makes that more immediate. So I started really thinking about using that as a vehicle for exploring these categories of expression or being.
How do you see this work developing, or do you see this work developing further, your research that you did here?
I do. I'm not sure how yet. I will have an exhibition in a few months in February, so I'm planning on extending the work that I've done here into that, but I'm not sure quite yet exactly how. It might become focused on Ursa as one of several cats, because I have followed other cats in Bosnia-Herzegovina and in Portugal. It might be around that. I've also been doing research and filming at Neolithic sites in Bosnia-Herzegovina. That I'm really not sure where it's going. It's very mysterious to me. I'm interested in these different spans of time and how these very, very ancient, unimaginable sites, how they exist today and how we exist alongside different temporalities. But so far, I don't know where it is going, so I can't say.
Besides cats, what other animals have you filmed?
I filmed chickens, beetles, as a child, fish. We had pet porcupine fish. And I was really, since I got this camera, I've been filming all sorts of things, and I find myself drawn to just observing animals the most.
How do they change from one another, these animals? Have you sort of, have you found something sort of particular that defines each of them? I don't know how to frame this question, but I'm trying to understand more about your choices of animals and sort of what their particular way of being gives to the work?
For me, I was working with chickens first. I was thinking about the chicken and the egg and this idea of aporia, not knowing when an event begins or ends. And the chickens were also, they were wild chickens, and many of them were very light in color and against like these dark wilderness backgrounds. So then they would sort of glow in the frame of the camera, and I wanted to find a way to hold that glow or that silhouette of the chicken inside a glass, this like ephemerality of beginning or ending, but inside a very common object of a drinking glass. And the beetle, I actually had a very vivid dream that I was sleeping at my mother's, and I opened a box, the kind that usually has cookies, but there are no cookies inside. And these tropical beetles flew out, and they were landing on the wall, and I couldn't get these beetles back inside. They were like super bright in color and astonishing. And I woke up from the dream, and I really felt compelled that I should make an artwork with this. And I couldn't think how yet. And then I came across that Wittgenstein has the idea of a beetle in a box, that we all have a beetle in a box. And I know what mine looks like, and I know that you have one, but not what yours looks like, because that beetle in the box is a private language and it's pain. So I thought that, very coincidental that I would also dream about beetles escaping out of boxes. But I also didn't want to illustrate directly like the Wittgenstein thought. And then when I was taking care of my mother, while she was going through chemotherapy, outside of her apartment were these white flowers, and beetles were drawn to them, these very bright green beetles. This was in California. So I started to film those every day. It's very much something that happens in my daily life. I really encounter.
Did they also flew to the wall a bit like the frogs that you drew with your mom's?
Yeah.
Like on the walls.
Yes, and these beetles, they were like grasping and mumbling. They seemed like blinded by light almost. They couldn't see very well, and they were bumping into things all the time. So I started to film that, and I presented them in these half-open glass sort of vitrines in a way to nod at this opened box that these beetles are now flying outside of, and what happens to a private language when it becomes open, when there's like different beetles talking to each other, pollinating and so on.
I have a question. So your filming process is very intuitive, unexpected. What about your editing process?
It's also kind of like it's also kind of intuitive, but a bit programmatic, like just selecting for these moments that feel like they will go together. Like sometimes I will cut the footage very categorically, like, okay, for the chickens, I did all of the scenes of them pecking and searching, all of the scenes of them leaving the frame, all of the scenes of them staring at the camera, and that became 3 separate cuts. For these last two, there were 2 projectors in each. I did it a bit more loosely, but for the beetles, one of them, they were super active, moving around a lot, and the other, they were very still. Here for the installation at Villa 31, I worked with the architecture, the space, and I thought about like the green marble of the fireplace and the warm wood of the cabinet, and which sort of scenes of Orsa would fit best there. So I diverged from that system to go more by a coloring mood.
Did you have a lot of footage of Ursa?
Yeah, many hours.
And how long was the footage that you showed for the installation?
About like 30 or 40 minutes.
Okay, to end, can you tell us what you're currently excited about, be it personally or socially, artistically, politically? Even though.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I feel incredibly grateful to have been here. I feel very, very appreciative. It has been like, this is not really an answer, but I feel very appreciative. It has been such a tremendous luxury and privilege for me to be able to stay in this space, and I'm still kind of reeling from that and what that means. I'm always curious and excited what will happen next, so maybe I'm excited for the unknown in that way.
Where are you going after this?
We'll go to California to support my mother through surgery, and after that, I'm not sure, so we'll see.
Thank you so much.